Good morning to each of you, and certainly it's my great joy and privilege to be able to introduce our speaker for this morning. I greatly respect, admire, and appreciate him. Mike Lazenby grew up here in Birmingham. He grew up at the McElwain Baptist Church, and he later went to Auburn, where he received his civil engineering degree. And after many years of working in corporate America, he felt the call of God, and he attended the New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary and graduated with his Master's of Divinity. He has served as a church planner in Austria. He was called to the Chase Mountain Baptist Church to serve as their Minister of Missions, and he currently serves as the International Mission Board Church Mobilization Strategist. We are delighted to have him and thank God for him, and also pray for his wife and his children. Let's give him a hand. Amen.
Thank you, John. It's great to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me. Nice to join you guys online as well. My name is Mike, and as he was mentioning, Church Mobilization Strategist for the International Mission Board. And basically that is a function of the IMB's desire to see, are not interested in being an organization that says, send us your money and your people and we'll handle everything else. We don't want to be like that at all. The local church is where missions happens and is where people are sent out from. And so we want to serve you guys well as pastors and as mission leaders in your church. We're thankful for you. And my role exists, basically, I'm going to be somebody that comes in and listens to you as pastors, as missions leaders, and find out ways I can serve your vision. That could be everything from helping you find field partnerships, helping you find speakers in your church, talking about different ways you could do ministry. One of the things we're doing now is helping churches set up pipelines to ministry, basically comprehensive strategies to take people all the way from being a child in your church all the way through to being sent out from your church. And we'll do that. So truly, I'm a consultant. I want to come listen to you, and I want to hear about what you're doing and figure out ways our organization can serve you well. So that's me. I want to share a little bit about kind of my story. I've got a Birmingham story. I grew up here over on the east side of town, McElwain Baptist at the time, and was blessed to have leadership there that taught us to be on mission. We were taught to share the gospel and even went out to Old Eastwood Mall to try and do that with people there. We were taken on mission trips domestically through, did I set up this microphone wrong? Okay, we're good. All right, sorry. We took mission trips around the United States and got to serve people there in different contexts. And I went on my first international mission trip there, so that got to experience what life was like in another culture and how the gospel could be shared there and was relevant to the people's lives there. As John mentioned, I went to Auburn. My wife and I both did. When we were married after school, we came back to Birmingham and we're living over near Vestavia Hills. And so we joined Shades Mountain Baptist there, and the pastor there, Dr. Danny Wood, had quite a vision for global missions. I can remember he brought a vision that was very specific in its goals, and my engineering mind liked that. I'd love to say at that moment we felt a calling overseas, but the Lord really used that vision as well as a local ministry that we kind of helped get started to shape our hearts towards other cultures. And we were sent out from there in 2010, as he mentioned, serving in Vienna, Austria. And I know the response is, oh boy, you drew a tough assignment. That's, got to go serve people in Austria. I get that. I understand it was a great place to live by most any standard, but the state of Christianity there is not real good at all. Evangelical Christianity there is 0.3% of the population. So we had our work cut out there, but came back here in 29, followed the Lord's leadership there, and And then I've started in this role in the past year, and glad to be in it. Get to work with lots of different churches, lots of pastors, and the Lord has been gracious and given me lots of different missions experiences, so that it's fun to be able to connect with you guys and share in your vision and look for ways to just increase that and share opportunities. Wanted to talk today about the International Mission Board, just kind of give you a broad overview, then we'll get into some specifics. You'll see there, reaching the nations together. The key word, again, there is together. We don't want to be an organization on a hill that is operating independent of church. We want to do that together. And again, my role as a function of that, our vision is that we reach every nation, tribe, people, language, knowing, worshiping our Lord Jesus Christ. You'll see that straight out of Revelation 7. And I want to stop here for a minute and remind all of us, this is how it looks at the end. We're going to talk about the state of Christianity around the world, and there's some tough statistics that we're going to work through. But this is how it will end. And we can count on that. That's the gospel truth. There will be every nation, tribe, and tongue before the Father worshiping him, and we're thankful for that. And we get, as Southern Baptists, we get to participate in that. So that's our vision. And where we work, we're working all over the world, thankfully. Because of the way you guys support us, we're able to be in 8 different affinity groups all around the world, including, even if you look at that top right, you'll see there's a deaf affinity, and we're working with deaf people around the world. We have people full-time that are signing and that are taking the gospel to a group of people that are often marginalized in different cultures around the world. So 59% of the world's population is considered unreached. Now, to get into some of the missiology there, as we study the world and as we look at the state of Christianity, we're considering unreached anything that is under 2% evangelical. 2% is not a very high threshold, okay? But we're talking about 4.6 billion people that live in areas where the gospel is less than 2%. There are obviously a lot of lost people everywhere. People that don't know Jesus, people who die daily apart from him. If you look at numbers, they're staggering. We're talking about almost 160,000 people dying daily without a relationship with Jesus Christ. I know where I'm standing. We're right here in Alabama. Fill up Bryant-Denny Stadium daily. Put lots of Jordan-Hare Stadium in there with it, and that number of people die daily apart from Jesus. So the task is big. We want to be about that. And we exist basically to try and help with the world's largest problem. If I asked you guys, what's the largest problem in the world, what would you say? Come on, guys. You're pastors. You like to talk. What are we going to say? World's largest problem. I'm not. You guys are pastors. Yes, lostness is the largest problem in the world. If you think about wars, if you think about anything else that is bad in this world, and there's a lot of it, it stems from the fact that people do not have a living relationship with Jesus Christ. Thankfully, as followers of Christ, we have the solution to that problem, and we believe the only solution to the world's greatest problem is the gospel. So what do we want to do with the gospel? We want to take it to every nation, tribe, and tongue. And how do we want to do that? At the International Mission Board, and as Southern Baptists, we reflect this belief that the biblical example for getting the gospel to the nations is by having boots on the ground, a physical missionary presence. I can testify that from my own experiences. When I lived in Austria, again, tough assignment, right? But I would get people who said to me the following: have you met anybody that lives around here who believes that? That's a foreign thing to us. So the ability to be there, live among them, care for them, meet needs, that gave us an opportunity to share the gospel and to do so with a validity that would not have been had as groups came in. We love mission trips. We're thankful for them. They serve the work all over the world. But we believe the best way to get the gospel to the nations is by having a physical missionary presence. And for Southern Baptists, the International Mission Board is a tool in your hands for doing that. We're going to be a mechanism for sending people to those places. We serve you. The beauty of the Southern Baptist cooperative effort is that plenty of us as churches don't have resources to send all the people that want to go and financially support them all over the place. But Southern Baptists have partnered together through cooperative program, through Lottie Moon Giving, and the IMB is a tool in the hands of each of our churches to be able to send people to all of these places. Just to kind of give you a rundown of some of the things that have happened in the last year, I've got 2021 statistics. 2022 is obviously not over. We'll share those with you when we get them. But if you look, we've got 3,600 missionaries fully supported through the International Mission Board around the world right now. Now, those are adults. We also have about 2,800 children with those adults. And I always want to mention the children because, again, from our own experiences, and you guys have traveled, you've seen this as well, the children participate in the ministry. They open doors that others couldn't. And when we're talking about comprehensive care, guys, I want to, again, stop and thank you as Southern Baptists. Comprehensive care means when my wife loses her hearing on the field, she's able to be rushed and have surgery and restore part of that. When my children need help with their schooling, the International Mission Board has educational resources and people that help us through that. When we have people that are sick on the field, I'll give you an example. We had one of our personnel who got COVID in Uganda, and the poor guy, I mean, he should have died, is what should have happened. He got moved to a hospital near him, and they told him, look, we got to get him somewhere else quickly. Medevaced him there. He went into a coma, medevaced him to another spot. He was in a coma for a month with COVID. They told his wife, we got to turn these machines off. She said, no, we're going to pray. And then we medevaced him to the United States. He's still here. He's ready to go back to Uganda. But those kind of things are comprehensive care. There are lots of great mission sending organizations around the world and around the United States, and we want to work with anyone who is about the gospel of Jesus Christ. But as Southern Baptists, again, I can testify, having been there myself and then gotten to work with lots of different missionaries in my role at Shades Mountain, there is no better organization that supports its missionaries. And that is a reflection of you. And again, I stand here thankful for you there. You can see the number of people that heard the gospel last year. Is that not great? That's, again, you want to talk about filling up football stadiums. Look at all the people that heard the gospel. You see 22,000 new churches planted. 177,000, I'm going to round up, new believers. 107,000 of those guys were baptized. Sorry. 93 new people groups were engaged. 182,000 people received leadership training. I'm so sorry. So we're able to do all of that work, and we're thankful for it. Good grief. Sorry, guys. This is one of those public speaking 101. You hope that doesn't happen, right? Here you are, your eyes are watering, you're coughing all over the place. But we'll get through it, right? So these are all of the things that happened in 2021. And again, we want to thank the Lord for those. Here are some things we're wanting to do in the next 2 or 3 years. These are strategic objectives. We want to send an additional 500 missionaries to the nations. That's an additional. We lose, unfortunately, a few hundred people every year. Just they come back to the States for all sorts of different reasons. So when we say additional, we've got to count for attrition and then add more. Thankfully, guys, there are 1,100 people right now in our assessment deployment pipeline. That number keeps going in a good direction, in an upward direction, and I thank you guys for that. Please tell your people, keep coming. We can take more. I want to stop there as well. As you look down at some of the other objectives, we're talking about prayerfully and financially supporting the International Mission Board, increased giving. We've got to do that so that we can send more missionaries. I want to thank you, Lottie Moon, for the year 2021. The fiscal year just ended, and we've been able to count up the gifts there. The goal for this year was to have the highest amount of giving ever, and we set the goal at $180 million. That would be the highest ever. It's a God-sized goal. We didn't make $180 million. We didn't make 190. We made $203 million. Guys, that is Southern Baptist. That is Southern Baptist sharing, and we're thankful for that. You're contributing to the gospel effort there, and so it's just a great time to be able to. What is that? Is that me? Is that better? Is that better? Like I say, public speaking 201, right there, guys. Okay, learn how to use the microphone. But so you'll see those objectives. We want to engage 75 global cities with comprehensive strategies. When I say comprehensive, that's boiled down to how do we get to every people group in this city. I served in a small city by global standards, but we had a comprehensive strategy of how do we get above 2%. We wanted to plant a church near every subway station. We put together strategies to get to all the different types of people. I lived in an area of town that had a lot of Turkish people. How do we get to them? When we're talking about these global mega cities like a Kuala Lumpur or like a Dubai or a London or something like that, we've got people coming up with all these different ways to reach people and to start churches and to be about the gospel there. So we're thankful for that. We want to keep doing that. The second one there, mobilize 500 global missionary partners. You see around the world today that there are areas of the world that the American white missionary cannot get into. We're learning that as we train local partners in areas of the world, they then want to be sent to areas of the world that maybe I can't get into. And they can get in and have a gospel presence there. So we want to continue to mobilize those missionary partners as well. And we're thankful for an opportunity to get to do that. Because the gospel must reach every nation, all tribes, peoples, and languages. So the question for you guys then, how can your churches participate? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. Let's talk about some ways that you guys can participate. And I want to get into a little bit of a classroom discussion, forgive me there. But let's talk about 3 historical missions paradigms in churches. If I asked you guys, how has the church addressed her mission throughout history? Fire away some answers.
One is just to give money.
Mm-hmm. To give money. Very good. Very good. Disciples, make disciples there. Mm-hmm. Short-term mission teams. Those are all good ways we've addressed the missions. We're thankful for all of those. I want to look for just a minute at some paradigms. We've got a supporting church. We talked about the money, right? We've got missionary sending churches. As we make disciples and they begin to grow, they're being sent. And those are good things. I want us to look, though, what's at the center of those? These are both missionary-centric, right? We've got a missionary we're supporting financially. We've got a missionary we're sending out. And those are, again, please don't hear me speak against that. Those are good things. Those are all, but then if we look at a third paradigm, we've got a mission-focused church, right? That is focusing even beyond those missionaries. We're talking about inspiring our people towards mission, equipping them for missions, praying, giving, going, sending. We're talking about a missions-focused church in that sense, and that's church-centric, right? So that We love, across our convention, we love our missionaries. And I just talked about ways we support them, and we support them well, and we thank you for that. But as we continue in our churches and as you lead them, I want to encourage you, and we as the International Mission Board want to work with you as we move towards more of a mission-focused church model. And you see the aspects of that. So that let's look at that in a little more detail when we're talking about inspiring, equipping, praying, giving, going. What does that look like? Your church's identity becomes missions, right? Those things build on each other. And we're starting with that inspiration. And that comes from you guys. That comes from you guys as pastors. You're inspired by the Word of God, right? That's where you get your inspiration from. You see what His Word tells us about making disciples of all nations and being witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and the ends of the world. You're inspiring your people. But inspiration brings a need to equip your people to be ready to go, right? And so we as churches want to be prepared to equip them. Some of the things we want to teach them as part of that equipment process. Let's talk about that for a minute. What are some ways we can equip them? And look, the answer's already on the screen. All right? We're getting ahead of ourselves, but that's all right. How can you as a leader equip your church?
I think of 8 different principles.
8 different things, yeah. This is a good kind of test when you get the answers before the question, right? Right? Well, so I would encourage you guys, as you set up your mission strategies in your churches, the first thing I would encourage you to be is missions is not an activity of the church. Missions is the thought that drives everything in your church, okay? That's not to the exclusion of doing good children's ministry. That's not to the exclusion of doing good college ministry, discipleship, all of those things. What we're trying to get to as we work together is this idea that going to the nations seasons everything else we're doing in the church. It becomes that identity. So that when we're talking about equipping that way, I would encourage you guys, put a missions leadership structure in your church. Now that may not look like an official ministry position, and that's fine. But there are people in your church who love Jesus and who want to go to the nations and lead your people in that direction. So think about setting up a committee. Think about some sort of structure where you will have champions for the work in your church. We're happy to provide discipleship type courses to you guys. If you go to imb.pathright.com, there are 6-month discipleship courses that will season your people with God's global plans. And then I've got on there, get to know the core missionary task. We're going to talk more about that here in a minute, so let's put that aside for now. But when we're talking about equipping for the task, we want to prepare our people. Inspiration is wonderful. I'd ask you guys that too. What are ways you can inspire your people towards mission?
Preach on the Great Commission.
Preach on the Great Commission. That's great.
You lead as a pastor by example, so
Mm-hmm.
you go.
Yeah. No, that's great. So yeah, as we provide the presentations answers, you guys have hit on the first thing: biblical preaching and teaching. Straight from the Great Commission, we mentioned Acts 1:8, Revelation 7, Psalm 67. The Bible is full of God's global purposes. Let's teach that to our people. Let's teach them that, yes, absolutely, we want to minister to the people around us, right? But I heard a wise pastor at one point say that the light that shines the brightest, or light that shines the farthest in the world, shines the brightest at home, right? So that it fits together. And let's teach them that from the pulpit. I tell people all the time, if you want your people to get excited about God's global purposes, put them in the room with missionaries. let them be in a room. Tell their stories. Your people will jump, and they're going to become advocates. You're not going to have to inspire them anymore. They're going to love those missionaries. So again, this is part of my role. If you guys are looking to connect with missionaries, I'd love to connect you with them from anywhere in the world. We talked about 3,800 people. We'll find you some that will come be in your church because they want to share about their ministry, and your people are going to fall in love with them and be a part of that. So that hear from their testimonies. You're going to want to consider make it relational, right? Keep these relationships. The brochures are great. All of the website information is great, but keep the relationship there and encourage your people to relate to the missionaries. Okay? Those are all ways you can inspire. We've talked about inspiring and equipping. How can you guys, as leaders in your church, encourage prayer for the nations? I'm comfortable with awkward silence, guys.
Well, you guys give us, when we get tools from you, I hand out pamphlets, things that we can put in our hands
Yeah.
that should tell stories. So, those things inspire, I think, and help equip our church to pray.
Yeah. No, thanks for saying that. In fact, as we scroll to the next slide and we talk about ways that we want to provide you guys with resources. If you look on the left side, this Loving the Lost prayer guide is a little prayer guide. I've got some with me if you want them. It's about this big, right? And it's a different unreached prayer group for every week of the year. 52 people groups that you'll be praying for. You can put those in the hand of your people. I got the website up there. You can order them there. They are free because of the way Southern Baptist partner through the cooperative program. Doesn't cost you anything. Order those, put them in the hands of your people. We have an app. We're trying to be with the times, right? Teach your people to use an app. Go to the app store, put it on your phone. It will prompt you daily with prayer requests for the work that's happened around the world. I would encourage you as well, as you develop champions in your church, have them organize and pray for missions. Let them get together. We know, first and foremost, that prayer works. As you're praying for the work around the world, the Lord hears those prayers and He answers them, and we see the way He's working. The prayer also shapes your people's hearts, right? They begin to have an even greater burden for the nations. And then you see at the bottom, as you develop these relationships, ask your people to send you newsletters of what's happening. Put those in the hands of the prayer group. Talk about that to your church. Pray for them. I would ask, as one who used to send missionary newsletters, I would ask for two things as you get those. Okay? First of all, let the missionary know you got it and that you love them and that you read it. They'll appreciate that. You wouldn't believe how many of those newsletters are sent out and you get just crickets in response. Okay? So let them know that you got that. But also, here's an important thing too, guys. Share with them some ways that they can pray for your churches. It's equal that way, right? One's not ministering down to the other. We're partners in this effort. When we're talking about reaching the nations together, let's be together. So let them know, hey, we've got this event coming up. We'd really love you to pray for it. They want to do that, okay? So pray for them. We talked about giving. This is part of the process, right? How can we encourage giving in our churches? Yeah, no, that's great. When we're talking about things like the cooperative program and Lottie Moon and things like that, some of our people hear that, especially our younger ones, and they're like, what in the world is that? Who is this person, Lottie? And what does cooperative program even mean? Help your people understand what that is. Help them understand that as part of their giving, every week, those resources are being pulled together and they're helping fund missions around the world. Some of our people don't know that. Again, especially our younger ones. Teach them what the Lottie Moon offering goes to and remind them of the fact that if you guys want to be participating in global work, every penny of that Lottie Moon giving goes overseas. None of it stays in the United States. Every bit of that. So you can encourage them to give that way. I put this last one on there because it's creative, and I didn't know about it until I was in this role. If you go to imb.org/generosity, there are corporations that our people work for that say, if you're giving to a nonprofit, we will match your gift. Right? It's good PR for them. It's, they're good-hearted too. But if you go there, you can look up the company you work for and find out if they'll match that money. You'd be surprised some of them that do. But you can go there on the website and say, hey, I work for the phone company or I work for the power company. Do they match my gifts? And when they do, let them match it. They're contributing to God's work around the world, and they may not even know it, but you do, and the money ends up getting there. So use that. We have people, I talked to a woman last week, and this blows my mind. Single woman, never been married. She's deeded her entire estate to the International Mission Board. What a gift that is. So there are lots of different ways you can give, and you can help your churches towards that. When we're talking about going, guys, what are some ways that you can inspire and equip your people to go?
Use the pastor, put together a trip and yourself.
Yeah.
And then as you go and take people with you, then come back and give an opportunity for not just you, but even the members to share about what they did, what impact they had on their life, and begin to sort of stir the coals.
Yeah, your people are going to follow you. So take a trip like that and let your people see the pastor is championing this. He's putting his time where his mouth is and help them there. There are lots of different pathways that you guys can go. We want to help you with that. If you look at some of our pathways, we have pre-planned trips at this point that we've developed for high school students. So you may be saying, well, we've got students, but really don't have the time or resources to plan a trip ourselves. We want to help you with that. These Go Impact trips are set up. They're on a tee. All you have to do is sign up and go. Okay? 1 to 3 weeks, all sorts of places in the world. If you go to the website, imb.org/go, you can see all the different trips there. That's Go Impact for students. Go Experience, again, for all ages. We've got so many needs around the world, guys, and they're saying, we need churches to come serve us. Would you please send us people? We want to make it easy for you to do that. So go look at those. You mentioned the pastor going on a trip. If you and some of your peers want to go together and just check out an area of the world. I was speaking in an association up in Northwest Alabama. 4 of their pastors had traveled to the Amazon River and gone downriver trying to find people that they could share the gospel with. They've gone together, and as I met with them, we decided each of those churches is now going to take its own trip. So we want to do that for you guys. As you look at younger people, as your next generation people, we want to send high school students that have just graduated and want to take a gap year. We want to send them to the nations for a year. If you finish school and want to take a gap year, we want to do that for you. We've got collegiate trips that will be for a summer, that will be for a semester, that will be for that gap year. And then this journeyman program is as you finish school, whether you're single, whether you're married, we want to send you for 2 years. And the thing we want to remind our people there, that's fully funded. And you don't have to raise any support. Southern Baptists have supported you. As I talk to students and I tell them, you realize this organization will send you fully funded and you'll be paid a salary while they're there, it just blows their minds. They're not used to that. That goes back to that inspiration piece. That goes back to this, how do we let our people know? Southern Baptists have been general. They want to send you, or been generous. They want to send you, go. Be a journeyman for 2 years. That program is special, again, to me as well, having served there. These young guys come in and they inject energy to the team that's often needed. So encourage your people to do that. We're obviously still sending people for a lifetime as career missionaries. And those guys are the heart and soul of the work. They're that physical presence long term that gives us validity in the culture's eyes. Those are some pathways to go. This team associate, I want to hit there for a minute. Those are your people that say, I've got a career that would take me anywhere in the world, and I want to keep that job, but I want to go be a part of the missionary team as I work there. I just got through talking with a couple in Arkansas. They work for a large corporation that's offered them a transfer to 2 different cities in Europe, and they're talking about going there. And those guys will be relating to a team. They'll be part of the effort, and here's the neat thing from the old team leader standpoint, city strategist, they have access to a group of people that the full-time missionary doesn't. And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. So that team associate, we've got a couple from Meadowbrook Baptist here south of town that just left and is using their retirement to live overseas and be part of the missionary team there. So there are lots of different ways you can go. And then you guys as pastors, last question for you, what are some ways that you can inspire your people towards sending? Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. What are some other ways? Good with awkward silence, guys. I'll give you a break. Let's go ahead and answer that one. First of all, you want to pray that the Lord will send people from your church. Prayer is the work, right? We want to be praying towards that. We'll work with you. I mentioned one of the things we're doing a lot now. I'm going next week to a church in Mississippi to help them with this. How can we set up a pipeline towards sending in our churches? And when I say that, how can we help someone who, again, starts maybe as a child in your church? How can we help them? What are some steps all along the way towards sending people to the nations? We're happy to work with you on that. We want to tie our sending to partnerships. Again, as you guys invite these partners into your church, as you take some of your people to go see them, some of your people are going to raise up and say, I want to go serve with him long term. I want to go serve with this family long term. That's the sending piece. You want to develop advocates in your church and take care of your people as you send them, right? You want to help your people know, we're going to send you out, but we're not going to drop you. We're not going to forget about you. So as part of that sending process, know that you'll take care of them. And then clearly articulate the missionary task. In other words, help them as you send them through the International Mission Board, help them understand we're not sending you to just do anything, right? Sports ministry is great, but we're going to want you to do something besides play football over here, right? And let's take just a minute and talk about the missionary task, because I have a neat place I want us to go with that. When we're talking about the missionary task, there is a document called Foundations that I liken it to the Council of Nicaea. In 2018, we all got together in one place in the world as the leadership, and most of this was done by our executive leadership, but we all agreed this is what the International Mission Board is about. And I've got these for you if you want them. But we talk about this missionary task. We want to get entry into a group of people. That may be location, that may be the businessmen or women like we were talking about with the people in Spain. We want to get entry there, and then we want to share the gospel with them, right? We don't just want to get there and live life. We want to be about evangelism and sharing the gospel. As people come to faith in Christ, we want to make disciples, mature followers of Jesus. As we make disciples, that leads to a very healthy, formed church. And then within that church, we develop leaders and we exit to a partnership. Again, as the church becomes self-sustaining, we don't just drop them, but we lead to a partnership. And then we go start that over again. So as you help, we're going to very quickly go through ways that your fully mobilized church can participate in this missionary task. And as your people understand that, again, they're gonna want to go. So as you look at this is the engineer dork in me, right? We got to have a spreadsheet. My old colleague, he'd give me a hard time. I'd put everything in a spreadsheet. But as we look at this missionary task, we see often what our people think of with a mission trip, right? We're going to go and we're going to share the gospel. That's what our people see a mission trip as, right? But let's look at some other ways we can do that. We can also go and we can train leaders. You guys probably have very good Bible teachers in your church. Let those guys go and train leaders. They're participating in that task every bit as much as the guys that are going and sharing the gospel. We can be praying for people trying to get into areas, right? All of these different ways you can participate. If you'll just keep kind of cycling through these, you'll see them very quickly. There are all sorts of ways where your mobilized church connects with this missionary task. And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. This is how you, as the mobilized church, can participate. And we want to partner together, reaching the nations together to do that. So I hope you'll think on that, chew on that. I'll send you the presentation with the spreadsheet if you want. But think about ways that your mobilized church can partner with us in this missionary task and contribute to the vision. I want to repeat that again. We want to be getting to a multitude from every nation, tribe, people, language, knowing and worshiping our Lord Jesus Christ. We want to do that together. And the IMB's mission is to serve Southern Baptists in carrying out the Great Commission to make disciples of all nations. And I had to put as a background on this slide my old city. Sorry. So that's our vision and our mission. I want to pause now. We're going to take a break for a minute, and then if we've got some questions, we'll come back and do that. But I know there's a lot there. I see some faces kind of churning, and that's good. Let's talk about it in a minute, and we'll ask some questions. We'll take a break.